Now that is what a damper is not supposed to sound like. And I'm pretty sure that oil's not supposed to come out of those wipers either. Hey folks, we're back with another video, and today we're going to be working on a Fox Factory Series Float 34 FIT4 fork. So this fork belongs to a buddy of mine, and within 1 year he put over 300 hours of ride time on this fork. We're talking about a lot of miles, and I come to find out that he never serviced it once. No 50 hours, no nothing in that entire time. And the last time I went riding with him, I happened to notice that there were leaks in both his wipers. One of them, the air side, was very severe. The damper was just making all sorts of squishy noises, and I'm like, come on, man. So anyway, I have his whole bike here now, and I'm working on it all over again, and we're going to start by rebuilding this fork. So this is going to be a full service of this fork. Lowers, 50-hour, air side, and full damper service. So with all that being said, let's get into the tools and the parts needed for the job. As for tools, we're going to break it out into 3 sections: your 50-hour service tools, your air spring service tools, and your damper service tools. We're going to start off with our 50-hour tools, but no matter which section you do, safety glasses. Make sure you wear your safety glasses. The most important tool here, all right? Then we're going to go over the tools like I always do in order of use. And we're going to start off with a pencil, pen, paper, and a shock pump in order to write down our existing settings so we remember them for when we are all done. Then we're going to move down to the rebound knob. We need a 2mm Allen in order to remove it. And then from there, we got to remove our nuts. So one nut is going to be 15mm. The other one is going to be 10mm. So you need 2 sockets for that with a ratchet. Technically, in my opinion, these are optional. They just make life a little bit easier. These help with separating the internal shafts from each side from the lower legs, okay? And we need a hammer to tap them apart. So again, optional, but very handy. You could buy these aftermarket for much cheaper than buying them from Fox, like a lot cheaper, guys. So look on eBay, look around. Now, we're going to separate the lower from the upper. We're going to need an oil pan in order to put the oil that comes out of the lower, if any oil is going to come out of this particular lower. So then we're going to have our lower in hand. We're going to take out the foam ring. You're going to need a pick. Any pick will work. Then we're going to need a lever. Now I use this Ice Tools tire lever because it has a nice solid plastic rubber coating, whatever this is made out of, and it helps with not chipping at the lower legs, or at least chipping the paint. You could use a wrench. You could use any tool that has leverage. Excuse me. So then we're going to go into the lower, and we are going to need a dowel, a rubber band, and paper towel in order to clean out the lowers, plus a lot of alcohol, right, to get them all nice and spotless in there. These little foam containers, you get them from a dollar store, 3 for $1. These are great for soaking our foam rings in fresh oil, okay? So we're going to fill this up, put our foam rings in there, and soak them while we're doing this entire service. Then when we're all done, we're going to close up. Well, we're going to need to put the wipers back on before we close up, and we're going to need a 34mm wiper installation tool. Many different versions out there. I happen to like these push ones. They work great for me, but there's many other options out there. Now we're going to close it all up, and then we're going to need to inject oil into each lower, 10 cc's on one side, 15 cc's on the other side. So you need a syringe that'll get you to, well, as long as you get the 15 cc's, you're all good. We are going to need a torque wrench to torque everything down, and that is it for our 50-hour tools. Next, let's get into our air spring tools. As for the air spring, again, from order of usage, we're going to start from the left. So first, we are going to need a 26mm chamferless flat socket. You want it to be flat. You do not want it to be beveled on the inside in order to remove the top cap, and you're going to need a ratchet, obviously, to unscrew it, okay? Then we're going to go to the bottom, and we're going to take out a retaining clip. A flat pick will help out with this. Any pick will work, really, but a flat one would make your life a little bit easier, okay? Then we're going to pull out the air spring magnet. We're going to pull out the air spring, and we're going to need to put it in a soft jaw. And if memory serves me correct, I believe it's a 10mm. I don't remember. It's either a 10 or an 8. Something tells me it's a 10. Well, we'll find out. Either which way you look at it, we're going to need a soft jaw with either a 10 or an 8mm, right? And then we're going to have to take out a bolt. Now, we might need heat. We might not, but ultimately you will need a 12mm wrench, or let's say a plier, but at a minimum, you want a crow's foot, 12mm crow's foot. If you don't have wrenches, get the crow's feet, because you could always unscrew with a crow's foot and torque it back down to appropriate specs, right? So crow's feet, in my opinion, are more important than wrenches. So then we're going to clean everything up. We're going to change a few seals. We're going to need our pick to change a few seals. Then we're going to put everything back in. We're going to need to put the air spring piston back in, or the head. And a bullet tool will come in handy. I'll explain that when we get to that point. You don't technically need it, but you take a big risk of putting the head in with the new quad seals without one of these tools. Okay, we're going to need to close this, install the nut back onto the shaft. We're going to need some Loctite red. You're going to need a torque wrench. We're going to need a dowel with towels and alcohol in order to clean the upper extension while we're at it. And that's it for the air spring tools. Next, let's go into the damper tools. As for the damper tools, again, from left to right. First, again, we're going to need, actually, what we're going to need first is a 2.5mm Allen in order to remove the bolt on the controls, okay? And then we're going to need a 26mm chamferless socket in order to remove the entire damper body from inside the upper tube, okay? So then we are going to take the damper and we're going to put it in a vise. Now, I believe a 5/8 or 15mm should work. We'll find out when we get there. I honestly don't remember top of my head which one. So now, when it's in the vise, we're going to do two things. One, first, we're going to let's do this one first. First, we're going to open up the bottom half and the top half of the damper in order to remove all the oil. You're going to need a 19mm wrench. You can do it with a Nipex or a plier, but ultimately a 19mm crowfoot in order to torque it down to the appropriate specs. From there, we're going to empty out the oil. You're going to need a little pan to put the oil in. Then we are going to go to the top and we are going to take out the control knob mechanism. Now, this is going to be the trickiest part of this whole process, and you need some very small picks. It's a very small hole that they give you in order to help remove a C-clip, and I highly recommend doing it with a magnet on top. Do not damage the C-clip. Do not lose this C-clip, because my understanding is Fox does not resell that part, and you are SOL if you lose that or break that C-clip, okay? So you want to be able to pop it out and catch it on a magnet right away. Plus, we're going to need the magnet for the detent ball and the spring that's, well, inside that mechanism that we're going to remove, and we're going to go over that later, okay? So then we're going to change the bladder on that side. Again, we're going to need a pick to get in there. Forgot to put, no, there's a pick in order to remove this another C-clip essentially. Then we're going to move on to the lower, right? So on the rebound, we're going to take out the rebound needle mechanism. We're going to need a 9mm with a 9mm crowfoot in order to remove that. We're going to change the seal head. We're going to put a new seal head back. Oh, we might need heat in order to remove it, okay? So we're going to change the seal head to put the new seal head in. A bullet again helps without damaging the new seal head seals, okay? Not absolutely needed, but again, you risk it. Then we're going to tie down everything again. We're going to need Loctite red, once again, in order to seal the whole rebound mechanism. Then we're going to connect it all together. We're going to torque it all down. Need a torque wrench. We'll need a torque wrench with everything. And then we're going to bleed. You need this Mixmizer tool from Fox. Get them on Amazon. You can get these for much cheaper on Amazon, aftermarket ones. So don't buy the Fox one. Ultimately, they do the exact same job. Not the greatest tool in my opinion, but it does the job, okay? But we need this for the bleed. And then once again, we are going to need a dowel, alcohol, and paper towel to clean the upper stanchion before we put the damper body back into the upper assembly. Alcohol and paper towel to clean everything, right? And that's pretty much it. Let's go into the seal kits and the oils needed for the job. Starting off with the 50-hour seal kit. Part number 803-00-945 has everything we need for the lower half for the 50-hour service. And with that, we will need 20 weight gold oil and SRAM butter or equivalent, Circolium, whatever you guys like over here, all right? For the air side, the air spring, part number 803-00-963. And again, with this, we are going to need SRAM butter and just a little bit of 20 weight oil. In fact, you might want a small syringe in order to fill up the upper part of the air spring. And then for the damper, now you really need to make sure, they have multiple damper versions, so you really need to make sure that you get the kit for your year fork, right? So this one's a 20 plus, part number 80301-431. Again, this is a 2021 Fox 34, so this kit works. With that, we will need 5-way PTFE infused oil is what Fox wants you to use. I don't know if I'm sold on the PTFE. If you don't have anything, you're going to buy brand new, go get the PTFE. If you have some 5-weight left over, a good amount of it, or even a little bit, empty it out. You were not going to go wrong. Nothing's going to happen, I'm sure. And with that, we are going to need just a smidgen of waterproof grease. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Now we could get into opening up the fork. Before we start on this fork, make sure that your fork is absolutely clean, all right? Because this thing, even though he washed it for me, it was still a huge mess. There was a ton of mud piled up inside the steer tube. The rear of the crown was filled with mud. I literally had to dig in there and get that stuff out. And the bottoms were filled with mud. So make sure that you remove all the mud from within this entire area. You do not want mud falling inside without you realizing it when we're working on it, or closing it all back up together, okay? Because that will wreak havoc on the insides. So first, we are going to start off by writing down our settings, and we're going to start off with our rebound. So for rebound, we got our positive and our negative. We're going to turn it counterclockwise all the way to the negative side, okay? We're going to count the clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13. So we are 13. Now we are going to go to our low speed compression on the top of the damper side, and we are going to turn it again counterclockwise and count the clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Boy, that's grindy in there. Now, make sure that we are in the fully open position for a high-speed compression. Okay, so that's fully open, all the way counterclockwise. Now, we are going to open up our air cap, and we are going to take our air pressure. Put this guy on the side. We will need him. Put your shock pump in here. Screw him down. And let's see where we're at. We are at 80, but we lose a little bit. So let's say, I don't know, let's say about 84 is a good start. 84. All right. Now we are going to remove the air slowly. Okay. Make sure it's all gone. All right, and then we're going to test it to be sure that all the air is out. And the way we're going to do that, grab any kind of flat surface like a 3mm Allen or whatever you want in this case, so I don't damage my tabletop or make noise. Grab a little piece of cloth, put it over the valve. The reason we do that is just in case there's oil mist that comes out, you don't want to breathe it, right? And we're just going to press down on the whole thing, right? Let go, let it lift, do it once again. All the way down to the end, let it go. Now we know all the air, well, 99% of the air is gone from the inside. Okay. Next, put this on the side. We're going to grab our 2mm Allen, and we are going to remove our rebound knob counterclockwise. Don't take it fully out, just take it, unscrew him until he pops out, basically, just like that. Leave him in there. We're going to put him on the side just with the air cap. Up next, we remove the lowers from the upper. To remove the lowers from the upper, we're going to need our sockets. We're going to start off with our damper side, 15mm socket. Take them counterclockwise, and the rest we could do by hand. And unlike rock shocks, this we're going to completely remove. Okay. There we go. Now, there should be crush washers in here. He's in there, I just can't see him. So that was our 15. Now for the air side, we're gonna take our 10 millimeter. All right. And we're gonna remove him completely. This one should have a crush washer, and I bet you this one's stuck on there. Yep, so if you notice, the crush washer is stuck on this one right here. So what we will try and do is grab a pick and take him out. Come on. Yeah, we'll just have to remove them as a whole when we separate the bottom from the top. So next we need to separate the shafts from the legs. We'll start off again with our damper side. So again, you could make your own tool. I believe this one's a 10 millimeter, the other one's an 8 millimeter, an M8 and an M10. You could make your own tool with a coupler, but you could go buy these off eBay for a lot cheaper than what Fox sells them for, right? So we're gonna take this guy, we're gonna screw him in. All right, and then we're gonna take our mallet. There we go. And you will feel it and hear him separate. And we're gonna do the same to the air side. Again, this one's a little bit smaller, 2 different sizes. Screw them in. And the reason these are long is for the step casts, which I'm doing next, actually. I got a step cast coming around, I think, in a week. And yeah, it just, because step casts are much deeper inside. There you go. You hear the air escape. That means he's separated. All right. Next up, we separate the top from the bottom. To separate the top from the bottom, make sure you have your oil pin, right? Or your oil pan. So we still have a crush washer in here. I can't get it out. We're going to try and jam it out right now by separating these two. Just basically force him up. Poof, there he goes. And he is garbage. So now we're going to take the bottom. Ooh. Oh my God, there's like literally no oil left in this thing. Great. There's a little bit of oil on one side. The other side, yep, the air spring side, that's the one where the wiper was completely destroyed. I mean, so much oil was coming out of it, there's literally nothing coming out of this guy. So all the oil drained out over time. All right, so I'm going to let this sit here for a bit and let all the oil drip out, and we will come back and start working on the lower. Now, before we work on the lower, we want to set the upper on the side. There's a significant amount of oil on the inside over here, so what we're going to do, so we don't spill oil all over the place while we're working on the lower boot, we are going to fill this with a paper towel in order to absorb, the damper side especially, in order to absorb any oil that's going to want to leak out. This way you won't make a mess wherever you put this guy. And might as well clean out the air spring side as well. Okay, so I'm going to take him and I'm going to put him on the side. Next, we're going to take out our foam ring. So grab a pick. Be careful over here. Just grab the foam ring. It's underneath the wiper. So this is the wiper. Foam ring is right here underneath it. And I cannot wait to look at this guy because all this over here, this is like mud mixed with grease. That's crazy. I hope he didn't do damage. Come on. Why are you giving me a hard time? Oh, for crying out. Look at this. Come on. There we go. Yeah, say the least, that's all a muddy mess. That is one. And there's the other one. I've actually seen much, much worse. It's a miracle that these aren't even worse. This one's actually real muddy. That's like mud on there, like mud soaked in. I mean, look at that. So then we take out the wipers. Now, this might be tricky for me. Let's try it in here first, right? So if you want to save your wipers, remove these rings before you remove the wiper, okay? You don't want to crush the spring ring. So let me see if I can do it up here. That's going to be too slippery for me. Let's see if I could move this guy. Here, come on. Come on. Put one of these guys on top of him. Let's see if I could do it here. Oh, crying out loud. You gotta be kidding. There we go. That's one. Whew, tough. That's the inside spring. And hopefully this one will be a little bit easier. It's harder on the table. You're better off on the ground and using your body as leverage when they're tight. All right. So took those guys out. Let's first clean the edges over here, just in case there's any dirt so it doesn't fall in. And then we will go onto my little ritual of cleaning the inner tubes. To clean the tubes. So first I start off with putting a good amount of alcohol in there and shaking them. And then make sure to have your dowel, a rubber band, and 4, if not 6, either 2 or 3 per side. You should never need more than 3 per side. Full sheet paper towels, okay? Preferred lint free, but ultimately any paper towel will really do. So first we're gonna start off by taking our finger and plugging the hole at the bottom, right? Then we're gonna take a good amount of alcohol, spray them in there. The whole idea is to break up the oil from the walls. Any oil that's stuck in there, because it's pretty sticky stuff, and this will help with breaking it up. So shake it up and down, shake it all around. Right? Again, we're trying to break up oil here. Okay. First batch, we're going to spill it from this side. That's once. Plug the hole again with your finger. Let's do it again. This one, I guarantee you, there's a lot of dirt in it. That's why we want to do it real good, because that wiper was destroyed. Second time from the bottom. Okay. Clean my little mess here. All right, so let's put that in there for now. Next, we're going to grab our dowel. We're going to loosely wrap, very loosely, a paper towel and leave about 1.5 inches on top, okay? Very loosely wrap it. Don't tightly wrap them. And then in the middle, we're going to take a rubber band and tighten them in the middle. Then we're just going to tear them on the sides right in the middle over here to create a mopping action. Then put alcohol inside. We're going to take this guy, we're going to bring him all the way to the bottom. Let him soak up at the bottom as much as possible. Twist him counterclockwise to start off with to get that mopping action from the torn pieces. All right. And then just go back and forth. Twist and twist and twist. And bring them up. See what I mean? There's actual mud in there. That's not good, guys. That is not good. Do not let your forks get to this level. I mean, this is not good at all. That's a very bad thing. I don't even want to know how much mud came out in the alcohol. It's going to be hard to see. I mean, it's really hard to tell, because that's like broken down oil and alcohol in there right now. So, okay, not too bad, but there's definitely signs of mud throughout, right? So that's once, and we will do him again on that side. So our paper towel, leave 1.5 inches, loosely wrap it, don't tightly wrap it. Then grab the rubber band in the middle, tear them up on the edges here. Put this guy in to the bottom and let him soak up at the bottom. All right. And that is pretty much it. This is looking real clean now, like very, very clean. Let's do them one more time. Yep, that is clean. This side is good to go. So repeat the same process for the other side. I'm not going to record it. It's the exact same thing. Shouldn't take you all that long. Get it done. And we will be back for the next step. We are all clean and dry in there now. So we need to look at the bushings. 2 sets of bushings. One on top and one around here. Okay. And what we're looking for is any kind of excessive rubbing, scoring, scratches, so on and so forth, right? Anything that doesn't look normal. So looking at the top ones, definitely a little bit of wear. over here. Yep. Look at that. You see that right there, there. Not the end of the world, still usable, but absolutely wearing. This is the air side. Like I said, the air side, the back part of the wiper was destroyed. I mean, the thing was empty. All the oil came out. Just about all of it came out. There was a little bit left. The damper side, that one looks good. Now, on the bottom, if we look at it, and it's good to use light, so point it against light, you'll see it the best, but a little hard for me to point at light. At least I got the white background, which will reflect. And there's definitely a scratch right there. 2 scratches right there. This one's actually pretty wide. I'd say about 0.5 millimeter, if not more. I don't know if you guys could see that. And on the damper side, that looks good. Whoop, we got rubbing going on over here. And the rest is looking good. Yep, there's definitely a scratch on this side right here, a good size scratch. I don't know if you guys could see that, but it's right around here. Right, so, but still usable. If it gets real bad, then these need to get replaced or you get a new boot. Your only 2 options, all right? So put this on the side for now. Next, what we're going to do is open up our wiper kit. Grab our little container. We're going to take out our foam rings. 1 foam ring. 2 foam rings. Not our O-rings. And then we're going to grab our 20 weight oil. Put a good amount in there because we're going to need some for later. For the bottom tubes. Stuff is like syrup, I swear. And we are going to let them soak. All right. So that's part 1 of the 50-hour service. If all you want to do is the 50-hour service, go to the end of the video for part 2. Where we finish it all up. Next up, we will go over the air spring. Now we work on the air spring. First, let's make sure there's no mud around this top nut because we want the best grip we could get. These things are already challenging enough, okay? As is. So, 26 millimeter flat, chamferless. We do not want a beveled edge. It's going to make life easier. You risk stripping this nut on top, okay? And what we are going to do is loosen it. It's going to be a bit of a... I need some downward pressure. In fact, what I need, so I don't slide around. Oh boy. There we go. And these are on there pretty good. Take off our top cap. All right. And we have a token. All right, since we're here, let's just clean off any excessive dirt that might be here for now. We're going to clean the whole thing. Next, we remove the air spring. Now, to remove the air spring, we need to remove a C-clip. And if you notice, this C-clip has a part of it that lifts upward. We need to go underneath it with a pick. A flat pick comes in handy over here. All right. So we're going to go underneath it. We're going to lift it up and we're just going to poke it out and walk it out just like that. All right. Next, we want to remove the air spring. This might be tough. You might need that tool, but this one came out pretty easy. All right. And that is our air spring. Let's take the excessive grease off first. Let's clean the excessive stuff first so it doesn't get all over the place. All right. Okay. Next up, we will clean the inside of the upper tube. To clean the tube, simple enough. First, let's try and grab any dirt from the seat where the C-clip sits. Grab some alcohol, spray them inside to break up the old oil. Take them back and forth. All right, then grab a paper towel, bunch them up into a tight ball. Make sure he fits inside real tight. Okay. And then, actually, so we collect all the alcohol. Fit this guy through. First one's going to be the greasiest. There we go. Let's take a look inside. Oh, wow. He's clean already. Yep. He is clean. Let's look at him. No scratches, no nothing. So, since we had the alcohol come up here, let's clean the threads. Okay, those look clean. Once again at the bottom. So, the upper tube is clean. Let's set them on the side. Next, let's change the seals on the air spring. To service the air seal, you have two options. One, you could do it with a vise and a 10mm soft jaw. Turns out I was right, it was 10 millimeters. You don't technically need it. You can do this without this by hand. It's just going to make it a little bit more challenging torquing it down because they don't give you a Allen at the other side like some other air springs do in order to crank them down. They should have done that in my opinion, but it is what it is, okay? So I'm going to do it with a soft jaw in order to do it what would be considered the proper way. But first what we need to do, take some alcohol, put it on a towel and clean all the grease off the axle so we could get, or shaft, so we could get good grip on the soft jaw. All right, then we're going to take it, give it a few millimeters, or let's say an inch from the top. Okay, put them down. Now, what we can do is give it a shot first without heat. We might need heat over here. Yep, we're going to need heat. So, before we apply heat, there is a O-ring in here, right at the base. Take it out so we don't burn them with the heat or take a chance on burning him and melting him in there without realizing it. Sometimes you could take this head off without heat and then you could take the seal out after. So, come on, get up. There we go. Why are you being so difficult? Boy, I'm so thirsty. Now let's take him, we'll put him on the side. Oh, if you noticed, I opened up the air spring package right here and I put everything in order by size best I could, okay? So that is here. We will be using that in a minute when we're done. So now we're going to take a little bit of heat, a few seconds. Don't go too crazy on him. And that should do it. There we go. Ooh, he's on there good. He's on there real good. Jeez. All right. Wow. He is really stiff. There must be a good amount of Loctite in this thing. Okay. And there we go. And then we have another O-ring on the inside. Yep, there was a good amount of Loctite. Could you see that? That Loctite red, man, is strong stuff. I'm going to have to take all that stuff out now. So now we're going to take out our head. Okay. Now, technically we don't need to take the rest out. I'm going to take them out and clean them only because obviously you saw the grease was pretty discolored. And we are going to clean everything best we can. All right, when I go get that part, I'll be back. So first, let's start off again. Alcohol and paper towel. Let's clean everything in order that we removed it. So this was the last thing to come out. Okay, grab all the extra old grease off of that. Grab it off the bumper cap. Again, I just want to make sure everything's all fresh grease in here. Bumper cap's clean. Let's clean the bumper. Right. Bumper is clean. Now, let's clean the shaft and then we will change our quad ring. Grab all the old grease. Okay. Now, we have a quad ring here. We need to change this guy because I'm sure he is destroyed. And we have a new quad ring right there. So we're going to take our quad ring. We'll prep him. put some grease on them. Put a good amount of grease on them. Now what I do is I always put grease at the base of the seat in a good amount. It'll squish out over time. All right. It's a little bit too much for now, but what are you going to do? Now we're going to take our quad ring. We're going to put it in. Our trick with the quad ring is make sure he doesn't twist when he goes in there. Make sure he's not twisted. He is not twisted. Okay. So that's good. Now, if you remember correctly, we had 2 seals on this guy. One of them is still on it with some Loctite. So we're going to need to get out that Loctite first. Boy, man, that Loctite's in there like, it's almost like its own seal. Okay, so let's grab this O-ring. Oh. Come on. Get out. Ah, why is it sometimes they give me a hard time? What did I do to you? Just get out. Look at this. Oh, thank you. Okay, now we're going to clean this guy, make sure there's absolutely no Loctite or anything on him. So we are good. Now we have our 2 seals. Let's replace them. This is one of them right there. And that is the other one right there. Okay. First we'll replace the one that we just took out, which is on the bottom. Right here. There he goes. And we have enough grease for the one that goes on the top. And there we go. We have 3 seals in this thing that need to get changed. This one on the outside. Then we have a buttercup or a cup, U-cup. Now U-cups are directional, right? So the flat part, great. Well, there goes the U-cup. And then we have a regular seal or quad ring on the inside over here. Okay, the quad ring goes in the middle, the U-cup goes on the bottom. So let's clean the inside. All right, clean the seat for the top one. Okay, now my U-cup went flying, but here's our quad seal. That's got to be the new quad seal right here. Here is top half. It's got to be that guy here. Is it? It is. It's got to be. It's not my imagination. My eyes playing trick on me. One's not thicker than the other one. That's the same one. And this has to be our U-cup. So you have a flat spot and a cup. Flat spot goes up basically. So it goes like that. Okay. So first what we're going to do, take some grease, put them on the seats on the inside. Okay. Wipe them real good in there. Ooh, not in frame. Okay, so I'm going to start off with our quad ring, which goes in the middle. So we're going to take them. We're going to tuck one side in just like that. Oops, you went too low. We don't want them to go too low. So we're going to sink them in. Then we're going to tuck in one side, just like that. Hold them at the bottom, right? See, he's in. So now what we're going to do is push him in the rest of the way. Now he's going to want to go into the seat where the U-cup sits. Don't let him pop out. And oop, nearly there. Nearly there. Oop, I had him. And he popped out. There we go. Oh, nope. Just when I thought I had. Come on, come on. There we go. Now he's in. Now we need to look at him and make sure he didn't twist. Right? And he did not twist. He is in there good. Cool. Now we take our U-cup. Again, flat part goes up like that, right? Camera overheated on me. So again, we're putting the U-cup on, right? Or in. So we're going to take it. Remember, flat side goes up like that, right? So we're going to take this guy. We're going to tuck him in. Then we're going to try, like I said, he's real stiff. We're going to get in there. And then bend him in just like that. All right. Let him get into his seat. Okay. Now he's on his seat on one side. Now we're going to tuck him in. Come on. Make sure to hold him at the bottom, and he will go in. Oop. Come on. Nearly there. Just about there. Oop. Come on. You could do it. There we go. And he is in. Make sure he's sitting right. We got a lip sticking all the way around. We are good. Next up. This guy here. Put a little bit of grease on him. We are done. Now, one more thing. We want to clean out all the remainder of the old Loctite from the threads inside, okay? We want that to be as clean as possible. So grab anything that will allow you to brush all that out. All right, because look at all the Loctite coming out. Oh, that's looking a lot better already. Just like that. Okay, then what you can do, grab a piece of paper towel. We're going to do this again later and see if you could cling on to anything that's left over on the threads. And we are good to go. Now to assemble, super easy. Everything goes back in reverse order, right? So grab our shaft. First goes our washer, then our bumper cap. Make sure the open side faces the bottom, this the top, right? Then our bumper. Now we put this guy back in the 10mm hole. Grab our bullet. You can do it without the bullet, but you really risk doing damage to the quad ring and the U-cup on the edges. This is a sharp edge. You could tear it, right? So that's where the bullet comes in. Not absolutely needed, but comes in handy. And you can buy them cheap on eBay, man. There's a lot of aftermarket ones like this one I got on eBay for a real good price, and they make them even cheaper now. So flat part goes down. This part faces the top, right? So take it and just boom, done. It was that easy. All right. So now let's clean any grease that might have made it here. Okay. Now we have both our seals on. Take a little bit of Loctite Red and put it at the base. There we go. Let it sink into the threads. All the way around. Actually, it's a little bit too much. I'm going to take some off. Okay. And then we screw them on by hand, always by hand. Boy, before I couldn't take them off with a wrench. Now I could. So much Loctite was on there. Let's take our wrench, tie them down. Oh yeah, that's right. I can't do it this way. Hey, where are you? Come on, man. All right, and then we take our torque wrench, 5.7 Newton meter, 12mm crow's foot. Remember, 90-degree angle. All right, take them, make sure he's in there tight. And this guy just turned off on me. All right, make sure everything's straight, 90-degree angle. And make sure that the axle isn't turning on you. 5.83, a little bit high, but more than good enough. And our air spring is assembled and refreshed. Now we put it back into the upper. Before we put them into the upper, we have one more seal to change, and that is the seal on our top cap. So let's clean the old grease off. Seal's right there. Let's find a replacement. It's that guy right here. So that's where we can move the rest of our seals out of the way. A little grease on them. Clean the seat. Grab our seal and put them back in. And our cap is done. Old seal. Now we can take the rest of these new seals, put them on the side for now, get them out of the way. All right. Now, grab grease, take your finger, go as deep as you can. All right. And I'm going to grab a good amount of grease. We're going to put them all around the head. Don't be shy here. Grease is your friend. Okay. Put them everywhere. Put them all around here. Now, I'm going to create a dam, and you're going to see why. All right, so then, put them on the side. Grab our foam rings that have been soaking. We're going to fill them up with 4 cc's. All right. 1 cc. Let's go all the way up. I'm going to put right here. All right. Now, squish him all the way up. And make sure he's all the way up, okay? And we're going to take him. I'm going to put him in, roll him in, and stick him in. And make sure he's all the way up. Make sure this shaft is all the way down. All right, so we are in. Take this syrupy stuff, get it out of the way before we spill it. Cover this guy before we spill him. Now, clean any remaining grease from the inside. And we're going to grab our retaining ring. Put them flat side in first, seat him. Make sure he's in a seat. He is not in a seat. Not fully in a seat. Now he's in a seat. And we're going to test him by spinning him around. And he does not come out. If we try and lift him up, there we go. We are in. Okay. Now, I'm going to grab the remainder of the 3 cc's. We're going to put on the top. Take our cap, thread them in. I'm going to go get my socket because I forgot to make it handy. Got the socket. Oops. Okay, let's get them started. And then torque wrench, 24 Newton meters. All right, get them in there. Not exactly convenient. Straighten them out. Oops, and I shake the camera. Sorry about that. 24.5. Technically, they want 24.8. More than good enough. All right. Clean them up. Our air spring is done. Actually, what you can do now, actually, just to protect yourself more than anything, put a little air in them. Put about 20 cc's. This way, this guy won't suck up, right? 20 cc's, 20 psi. cc's, psi, millimeters, Newton meters. It's too much, man. Two little brains to remember it all. All right, so we're just going to take a little bit of air and put them in there. Say 20 psi for now. Call them a day. Our air spring is officially done. Next up, if I can take them out, bing, we work on the damper. Now to work on the damper. So first we are going to start off by taking out our control knobs. 2.5 millimeter Allen. Make sure everything is in the fully open position, fully counterclockwise, right? Which we should be already good. Hold on to the knobs. Unscrew the small bolt. Pull it out. Take out the controls. And that's it. These guys we will clean later. Make sure you keep the bolt with it. We're going to be using that actually in a little bit. Then we loosen the damper body. Now this is going to be tight again. 26 millimeter chamferless. Socket. Come on. I need better leverage. I'm too high. I might have to put them on the floor. Come on. Let's do it this way. There we go. Come on. Oh, there we go. Got them. All right. If this thing was chamfered, like I said, you could strip the edges. It's hard enough with a flat one. They don't give you a lot of meat. If you notice, this one's thinner than that one. Why? I have no idea. Who cares if it's an extra gram? Give me the extra space. Okay. Now, I had removed the piece of paper we had over there to give you an idea. All that oil would have spilt wherever you had let this thing sitting for the last 20 or so minutes. Come on, why are you giving me a hard time? There we go. And that is our damper. Let's clean all the old oil off at first. All right, so it doesn't make a mess everywhere. All right. One last final cleaning. And then what we'll do before we start on this guy, let's clean the inside of the tube quick over here. So, grab some alcohol. Break up the oil. One of these guys in here. Grab my dowel, push them all the way through. This guy really, he's clean. There's no reason for him to get scratched, but if he does, it's not an issue. Nothing touches the sidewalls here. Clean the threads, clean this whole area well. All right, make sure this is all nice and clean. In fact, let's do this one more time. Punch this guy up the other way. Put him in here. Nice and tight. There we go. Put him down. And all the old oil is gone now. And there you go. Spotless. We could put him on the side. Next up, we open up the damper. Now that sounds unbelievably horrible. This thing's absolutely destroyed. It definitely needs to be bled. It definitely needs a new seal head. Just listen to that. You never want your damper to sound like this. So, with that being said, this version of the 2021 FIT4 damper actually is a super easy damper to service. Okay, you have two options over here. You absolutely need to change out the seal head and change out a couple of seals at the bottom over here. All right, but when it comes to the top side, outside of the seal on this mechanism, the dial mechanism, which is also the bleed port, there are no seals inside the compression assembly. The only thing you can do, and it's an option in my opinion, is change the bladder. That's it, okay? And in my opinion, you don't have to regularly change the bladder. Regularly maintain your shocks and you should be good. That bladder should be good for a long, long time. So you could really simplify this service by only servicing the rebound rod. And you're going to have to pull this out anyway to bleed it. When you pull it out, you just change the seal on it and you're pretty much done. Now in this video, I am going to go through changing the bladder just so people can see how it's done. But you really don't need to do this, guys. You could just leave it at this. And then when you bleed, you change out the seal on the control mechanism over here. All right. So that sounds horrible. First things first, we're going to take them. We're going to put them in a soft jaw. This is 17 millimeters. I was wrong. I thought it was 15. It's 17 millimeter hole. Okay. And then we're going to take our 19 millimeter Allen wrench, and there's flat spots over here. We're going to take them. Well, make sure it's down tight. And we're going to open up the seal head. Should be able to do it by hand. Put your cup underneath or your oil pan underneath. This thing is just a mess. I mean, oh my God, he's like empty inside. Holy cow. Yeah, to say the least, this fork probably needed service 200 hours ago. So, take the oil. Ooh, look at that color. That's nasty. That should be a lot more translucent. Like a lot more translucent. Squish the bladder. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to let this sit here so it drains real well. Just let it drain well. Even though I'm going to open it up, if you don't open this up, just let it drain real well, okay? I will be back. Just a reminder, when it comes to oils, please dispose of it appropriately. Do not put it down a toilet. Don't put it down the sink. Don't throw it outside. Don't put it in the garbage. If you put it in a bottle, make sure it's a bottle that states danger, don't drink. If you put it in a bottle that, like a water bottle, somebody might drink it without even realizing it, all right? Give it to your local bike shop. Give it to an auto shop so they could dispose of it appropriately. They will know what to do. Okay, I'm going to put it on the side for now because I'm going to need it later. First, we are going to work on our rebound rod because, like I said before, the bladder, for most of you, I think is going to be optional. You don't need to deal with anything in here, at least for this version of FIT4. Other versions of FIT4, yeah, there are a couple of seals on the inside, right? But for this one, nothing to worry about. So what we're going to do first, we are going to clean this guy here best we could. Then we're going to put him in a 9 millimeter hole, right? It's not a 10, it's a 9, I believe. Cool. Okay. Then we want to take off this cap. We could try without heat first. We might need heat. And we are probably going to need heat. Yep, we're going to need heat. So if you apply heat, there's a seal over here. Take out the seal, but do not replace the seal yet because you might burn your seal. So grab our heat gun, or in this case, our torch. All right, let's go back in here and hopefully that will do it. Let's go a little bit tighter. Wow. Why is the whole thing still spinning? It's not an 8mm, is it? Was I wrong? Oh. Yeah, it's an 8mm, guys. My bad. Not 9mm. It's an 8mm. So, time down. There we go. I'm sure the heat helped. Good. Thought I wasn't in frame at all. Okay. Unscrew this guy. Again, there's Loctite red in here, so he's still going to be a little bit hard to do. Come on. Oh, for crying out loud. Come on. There we go. And there is our needle adjuster. Cool. Next, we will take out our old seal head, which I'm sure is absolutely destroyed. Put that on the side. Let's take out our damper rod. Let's wipe them down. Clean them out. On the inside, we're going to want to clean all the remaining Loctite in there. To clean the Loctite in the threads, let's go in there with a brush. Scrape it all out. A little bit more. All right. Cool. This is a hole that goes all the way through, so you could blow everything out from the top. And it is looking, yep, that is much cleaner. Cool. Let's move on to changing the seals on the needle. In here, there is a small seal, okay? Now, the way this one works is, again, when you turn this, you're going to feel the clicks. Those are your rebound clicks. So you keep on, first clean the whole shaft, make sure there's no oil on it. Keep on spinning it, and the clicks are going to stop. But keep on spinning it, okay? And then it'll get to a point where you can pull it out. Now, there's bearing inside, a detent bearing that's making those clicks, right? So you could pull it out, and if you look inside, boom, right in there, there is a seal. A bit of a challenging seal because he is pretty small, okay? And you're going to need a small pick to be able to go in there and get him out. So, if I get this cap off this pick, all right, it's that seal right there. So basically, we're going to go in here and scoop him out just like that. Boom. Okay? Now, match him. So I can't tell if it's going top. It is this one here. All right? Right? Yes. So this is the new one. We're going to take a little bit of grease. I don't know why I even bothered closing that thing. And put them on our seal. Okay. Now be careful again. We're going to tuck them in. Just like you always would. Except what we're going to use is the shaft to pop them into place for us. So bend them. Ooh, he's hard to grip. Put them in. Okay, not like that. Like that. All right. Actually, you know what might work out good over here? Holy cow, I never thought about this before. My little wooden skewer that I use for DPS metering rods. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is put him in right there. He's sitting in his seat. Okay, on one side, he's sitting in his seat. Now what we're going to do is try and pop up this rod again. Okay, oop. And boom. There he goes. He's sitting in his seat. We got a brand new seal in there. So now we just take this guy, put him in, and you should feel a lot more tension on him. There we go. So let's take him out. Let's take one more good look just to be sure. Once the click stop, should be able to unscrew him a little bit. Crazy grease. Yep, he's definitely got a lot more friction. So he is sitting perfectly in there. We are good. It's all greased up. Again, put him in. And then bring him all the way to the end. Now, when he's at the end, turn him counterclockwise until you hear the first click. There you go. You're going to hear it or feel it. So once you feel that first click, leave him there, okay? You do not want him all the way to the end. You want him sitting at that first click. So this guy right now is not done. We still have this guy up here. So let's take this guy here. Actually, I'm probably going to need a stronger pick for this guy. He's pretty strong. Okay. Come on. Oh, these little guys, sometimes they could be such a pain in the butt. Come on, man. Just get up. Do me a favor. Just be careful with them. Come on. There we go. All right. We got this guy here, which is this small guy right there. Put a little bit of grease on him. And we slide him back in. And boom. We are done. Next, we're going to put our new seal head in. This is the old seal head. And here we have the new seal head, right? But to put them in, we're going to use our bullet tool. Again, to play it safe, put some grease on him. Well, don't kill him with grease like I just did. I didn't realize I put such a large amount on my finger. So, cup part goes down, seal part stays up, just like that. Next, we're going to take our control knob needle, basically, and put it inside the shaft. We want to make sure the threads are clean. We want to make sure they are free of any Loctite. Like mine had some Loctite right at the base. I cleaned it out. And then I cleaned the grease off. And then we want to make sure that there's no grease on these threads over here. All right. So make sure that's clean of all grease. Then we're going to take some Loctite red. We're going to put some on the shaft. Just a little bit. We don't need much. There we go. Good enough. Then we're going to take our shaft. We're going to put it in. Be careful of the sides. And screw them in by hand. Always by hand first. Okay, take our 12mm wrench, bring them down to the base. There we go. And then crow's foot, 12mm, 90-degree angle, 3.4 Newton meters. All right, make sure everything's straight. The whole thing turning, need to make them tighter. There we go. 3.44. Then, since we're here, we had our old seal. Grab the new seal. Grab the new seal. Grab the new seal. Put a little grease on him, just a dab. And take them, and we are going to put them over. Just like, no, not like that. Mind frame, yes. Just like that. There's two more little details. One, the glide ring. In this case, I could change the glide ring. There's the old one. They give us a new one. The new one's going to be big. It's going to flop around, but it'll squeeze together when we put it inside, and then it'll rest in place. I don't know why they do that. It is what it is. Now, the other thing what we can do is test our rebound to make sure that everything works, okay? In order to do that, grab our, see what I mean? This glide ring is going to flop around. That's why I don't like doing it now. It's more of a pain in the butt than it's worth. So there's a dimple. Make sure the screw sits on top of the dimple. Screw that in. Now, we're going to count about 19, 20 clicks, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yep, 19 clicks, so that's 20 altogether. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yep, There you go. So we are working. We are now in the fully open position, fully counterclockwise from the bottom. So this guy now is officially done. Next, we need to take off the dial on top. To take out this control knob in order to be able to bleed the system and change the seal in it, there is a retaining ring around here, okay? Now they give you 2 access ports, these 2 little holes on the side, one here and one opposite, right? To help, you need a really thin, small pick in order to be able to get into that hole. A typical size pick really doesn't fit in there, right? And the whole idea is to go underneath, like I am right now, that retaining clip, right? And then we want to lift it up, essentially. Now, that's not going to do it most of the time. At that point, you're going to need another retaining clip. You might get lucky, like I might get lucky here, right? This is where a magnet comes into play. You do not want to lose this clip. You don't want to break this clip, right? You want to be able to pop it out of its spot and then have the magnet just take it. Now, I'm not going to be able to do it like this. Let me try and do it the other way around. Let's see if this guy will fit in. There we go. So this guy is underneath now. Let's see if I get this guy underneath him. Oh, maybe I get it on this side. Yep. But he's not going to lift. It's going to be easier doing it this way. Yep. Okay. So this is where the magnet comes in, right? I got it on one side. There we go. Boom. On the magnet, right? This thing will fly across the room. It absolutely will. It's happened to me and fell in carpet, and I literally had to use this magnet and scour the carpet in order to get it back. It was a nightmare. So do not lose this thing. This thing's very important, okay? So then, now that we have that out, don't need these guys anymore. Put them on the side. Now, we can take our screw from our cap, screw them back in. Don't lose the screw either. So now we're going to take this guy, we're going to screw him in, right? Now, again with the magnet, there is a detent ball and a spring in here when we pop this whole mechanism out. You do not want to lose that detent ball. You do not want to lose that spring. Both of them are magnetic. There's the detent ball and there's the spring. All right, and that is the little seal that we need to change. So leave these guys on the side. In fact, have all 3 of them sit on this magnet, so this way they won't fall or you won't lose them. So now we go in here. This is a tough seal. Okay. Go around, go around. There we go. There we have them. We match them. There's this guy right there. Put a little bit of grease on them. And we are going to replace them. Oh, I had him. It's funny how it goes with seals. Sometimes they go on super easy. There he goes. Thought I lost him. Boom. And that seal is done. Again, you don't need to, you could do this without changing the bladder, right? The bladder is totally optional, but this seal definitely needs to get changed. Okay. To change the bladder, first we're going to start off by taking out this retaining ring. So if you look at the retaining ring, there is a flat spot and an angled spot. We want to start with the angled spot, okay? Go underneath it with a pick and just walk it out just like that. Pop it out. We're going to take it. We're going to put it on the side. And then there is a washer. You take that washer. We're going to put it on the side. So once again, I'd like to say that this is optional from this point forth, right? We don't need to change the bladder if you don't have to. But if you want to, we're going to have to remove the top cap. To remove the top cap, there's 2 points of separation. We prefer one of those points. Either it's going to separate from here or it's going to separate from here. If it separates from here, all we have to do is create enough space to pull the bladder out, replace the bladder, and put the new one in. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to separate it, and it separates from here. Then we're going to have to go in there with a 6mm Allen and separate the two in order to be able to separate this part from this part here, okay? The shim stack is in here, and technically, guys, there is one more seal at the base over here, okay? And personally, I don't recommend you do it. I'm going to do it. I'll service this whole thing. I'll give you an idea what the insides look like over here. Ultimately, this seal should not be, the seal inside there, like it's literally around there, shouldn't be changed, in my opinion at least, unless you have a leak. And the reason I say that is because there's a little retaining ring that holds this whole mechanism together, and it's not exactly easy to find. Fox does sell them. They're just not really in stock all that much. But Fox does sell that one. The retaining ring it doesn't sell is this one here. So, although these you could find, I've found them aftermarket, and I might put a link to in the description section. But this one over here, Fox does sell it. It's just they're not exactly in stock all the time, right? And if you don't have that retaining ring, you're SOL. You can't do anything about it. So let's get into opening this guy up. So again, if we are lucky, it will open from the top half here. It's 26mm chamferless. Let's unscrew it and see what happens. Hold down the bladder to help your odds. All right. And it looks like we'll get lucky. Yep, we're going to get lucky. So, the reason I say we're going to get lucky, I mean, it's lucky. I mean, it goes both ways, really. So, right now, it's loosening from the top. Now, you got to be careful over here because your shims are in there, and they will come out. But all we want to do, if you just want to change the bladder and not touch the shims, is expose the bladder just like that. All right. If it comes off, give it one twist, turn in, and now push down on your bladder, and that's it. We could remove it. What we're going to need to do is lift this guy out of here. Come on. Actually, I think I could remove the whole thing. Okay, first of all, let's screw this down one more time just to make sure everything doesn't fly all over the place. All right. Come on. All right, why are you giving me a hard time? There we go. There we go. And that's our bladder, okay? So, there is one more seal in here. We'll get to that later. But at a minimum, if you're going to change your bladder, that's all you have to do is try and separate them from here, from this part to this part. Now, there's a connector from this part to this part, right? So in other words, there's two screw points within this, I forgot what to call this basically, or your bleed ports basically, or your shim ports. So for starters, let's take the old bladder. Now the bladder's directional, right? The thin part goes down, the wide part goes up. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our retaining ring, we're going to put it in the same way that we had it before. Okay? We're going to take our old bladder, we're going to put it on the side. All right. Now we're going to take a little bit of grease, we're going to put on the inside, just a little bit, just thin coat, just so it slips in nicely. Okay? And that's it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put it back in. It's going to be stiff, but there we go. All right. So technically now what you would do is push this guy up into that seat on the inside. All right. It'll give it a little push. It will go in. There we go. Just like that. Okay. And then we screw this guy back down, and then we will torque him. All right. So before I torque him, I'm going to go to the inside of this thing. From this point on, this is super optional. You really don't need to go here. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like inside just in case something messes up and you end up exposing the shim stack and putting them out of order. Okay. Also, we'll go into replacing the seal at the base of this mechanism here. I really don't want to, because again, we risk deforming the retaining ring in there, and then replacing it is not all that easy, okay? So again, from this point, super optional. All right, we're back. So I'm gonna pull this guy back out now. I'm not gonna remove the bladder. I'm just gonna lower it. I don't need to remove them. Okay, just like that. Now again, there's 2 points where this thing could unscrew, right? One of them is just like this. Now, we're going to completely separate the top cap from the tube. All right, now we got to watch out because underneath is our shim stack right in there. Sometimes they will stick to the edge over here, so you got to be careful, okay? So the other way that this thing screws in, again, remember I was saying the 6mm. Sometimes when you go to separate this, in order to remove the bladder, it won't separate from these threads, it'll separate from these threads. Not the end of the world, but there is a spring with 2 shims in here, right? And you got to be careful with that. If it does separate from the bottom threads, let me give you an idea. Hopefully I'll be able to emulate it. Well, it's on there too tight. I won't be able to emulate it like this. So, but let's say it did. At that point, what we would need is a 6mm Allen. You wouldn't use it from in here. Let me give you an idea, because again, you guys might do this, change the bladder, and this might happen to you. Let me put it in here so I get a little bit more. There we go. So again, what might happen when trying to unscrew the top cap is it'll separate from here. All right, and all this will be inside the bladder. You won't even see it. Now, what happens is, again, we got to watch out because we have a shim over here, we have a spring and a shim underneath it, right? So at that point, you take the shim, you put it inside just like that. This would end up being screwed together like this. Again, there's 2 points of separation, right? Well, if we want to separate this from this now, we would take this 6mm plus the 26mm on the other side, and we would crack it open and basically expose the shim stack. And then you would take this guy, make sure everything's in order, take this guy, put him in. I just dropped my shims. Okay, so again, good example of stuff that could happen. So again, I just dropped it. One of the shims is still in there. They're both the same size shim. Spring is a cone shape. Fat part goes to the bottom, and then thin part goes to the top, and then the shim goes on top of it, right? And like I was saying, then you would just take this guy and screw him down and leave him on the side, right? So just like that. And you would go forward with changing your bladder. Now, as far as what's inside here. So, like I said, guys, this is super, super optional. We have our shim stack, okay? Now, your best bet is to use a magnet to take out the shim stack. Perfect magnet. Didn't take them all out, but it took most of them out. See if I can get them all. Nope, the other one's stuck in there. I will put them in order for you guys just in case something happens. All right. So from the bottom to the top, we got our 7mm, 7mm, 8mm, 8mm. I forgot how many millimeters this one is. Then we have our 3 spacers. Then we have our 6mm, and we have one more 6mm here. There we go. And that is our shim stack order, okay, for the FIT4. Now, over here we have our control mechanisms. This knob, your knob, turns this knob, which basically blocks the holes and either shuts all the ports or the majority of the ports or opens them all back up, okay? And the way this works, simple mechanism, our port, all our ports. We have our little shim that blocks everything. This is directional, So whichever way you take it out, you got to make sure you put it in the right way. I'll show you later how to do that just to make sure. And then we have our control knob, and this thing does have a wave ring on it, okay? So now all that's left is the washer, the retaining ring, and this mechanism. And at the base of this mechanism, inside here, there is a O-ring. There is also underneath this washer, a mini spring with a bearing that gives you the detent clicks for your high-speed compression. And that is a little bit tricky too, but it's not all that hard to deal with. There is a technique to use, okay? Let this guy cool off. I will be back and we will attempt to remove this. I highly recommend you don't do this, but I'm doing this for those who might run into the issue where you have a leak coming from here. That is because the seal up here, and for some odd reason, might have been destroyed in some way or form, okay? So in order to change that seal, we have to remove this mechanism. To remove this mechanism, this tube, or whatever you want to call it, we have to start off with this retaining ring. Now, this retaining ring, not the best retaining ring in the world to say the least, okay? So what we're going to do is sort of try and lift it with a pick underneath. All right, just like that, out of its seat. Okay, and carefully lift it up without stretching it. Try and stretch it the least amount possible. There's no way you could lift this without stretching it, which sort of sucks. Like I said, Fox does sell this, but you could try and form it to go back in. Okay, it's just going to be a little bit tricky. I'll show you guys how to do it. So let's pick this guy up just like that. Do not lose him. Okay, I'm back. I found him. He fell on a table underneath a container. So he's still in decent shape. Again, he looks a little bit oblong to me now, but ultimately we could sort of squeeze him a little bit without, stressing him too much, and reuse them. So we're going to leave them on the side right here. All right. So now underneath this washer, there is again a bearing and a mini spring. So what we're going to do is push this guy through. Technically, we don't need to remove the washer. There's nothing that we need to do to that bearing. But see what I mean? There is that bearing right there. Okay. So here is that last O-ring that we would want to change. So now let's go under here, pull them out. All right, let's find his replacement, which is right there. Yep. Throw this guy on the side. Let's put some grease on him. Actually, some kind of like residue on this stuff. Okay. Clean the seat good. All right. Let's put this guy back in. Okay. Now, unfortunately, you have two options over here. The bearing is on the edge of the spring. You might not be able to see it well, but to get him in, it's going to be challenging to see if he lands in the right spot. Okay, chances are it's going to be very difficult. You can do it this way, but a surefire way is to remove the washer. Oops. Look, what's the chances of that? I happen to put it in a spot where the that's the first time that's ever happened, where the actual pick went straight into the spring. Go figure. So again, there's this seat over here with the spring. That means that the bearing fell. Oh no, still stuck in here in grease. Okay, so let's remove the bearing. Be careful with the bearing. And that's our little bearing, if you can see that. Okay. This isn't complex to put in. Let's just clean this thing out now. It's as empty as it possibly gets. Right? See what I mean? There's some kind of old funky grease in there. Let's clean it out. Clean the inside out. Now, clean the seat if you can, where the spring sits. All right, got a pick in there. Not good enough. All right. That is everything. Let's put it back together. Now, I did clean the washer and the bearings and all that stuff, right? So what we're going to do first, we're going to take a little bit of grease. We're going to put in that seat. Actually, we need something bigger than that. We're going to take a little bit of grease. We're going to put in that seat where that spring sits in order to be able to hold that spring and the bearing, okay? So again, there's a little seat in there. Just put a little bit of grease in there. All right. So for starters, we're going to take this guy. Now he has 3 dimples in him. Those 3 dimples are the clicks you feel when you turn your high-speed compression, like from firm to pedal to full open, okay? So let's try and put them somewhere in the middle basically for now, just to help us. Not that it really matters, it'll snap in there, right? So now hold with your finger underneath this guy up. So next what we're going to do, we're going to take a little bit of grease on a pick, grab your bearing. We're going to put the bearing in right up against the mechanism like that, okay, at the base, just like that, all right? Then we're going to grab the spring on one side, just like that. And we're going to put it up against the bearing, and then we have to squeeze it to snap into the remainder of the slot, all right? So find your bearing, just like that. Lay it down and squeeze it in. Oop, I had it. I had it. This is going to be a little bit tricky. It's doable, trust me, guys. Okay, sit this part in the middle of the bearing, then squeeze it, and that's it. Okay, now we're going to take our washer, cover it all to protect it. Make sure it's all the way at the bottom. Okay, so now if we take our top cap and we turn it, we should, there you go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2. Perfect. So let's leave it in a fully open position right there. Not that it really matters now, but we know we're working. Okay. So now this is where it starts. This is the only part that sucks about this job. This guy here. So what we're going to have to do, be careful with them, sort of squish them a bit, right? Press them down, not too hard. We don't want to put stress at the edge on this side over here. We just want to sort of squish them a little bit to make them a little bit tighter because we stretched them open when pulling them out. Like I said, not the greatest solution over here from Fox, that's for sure. Okay, so I just squished him around. If you notice, he's a little bit rounder now. Okay, in fact, I'm going to try and do it a little bit more. And the way we took him out is the same way we're going to try and put him back in. So, put them on top. Yeah. There's 2 ways to do it, really. I still don't know which one is the best one. But this one definitely works. I know that much. Technically, they both work. Okay, and basically what we're going to do is slowly guide them down. The whole idea, we want to stretch them the least possible, so guide them evenly. All right? That is the trick over here. Now here's a lip. Get them around that lip. Okay, I got them down on that side. Let's get them down on the other side. There we go. Now he's all the way down. Now we put them down the shaft. Then we got to fit them in the seat at the bottom. And this is where it gets really tricky. Okay. We got to fit them in the seat. And what you might need for that is a needle nose plier. Grab him by the edges. Push him down and squeeze him in. In fact, I might have gotten lucky on this one, to be honest. Sometimes they're not this easy. Now we test him. Yep, he's in. He's not moving anywhere. Outstanding. Cool. Camera overheated as I was talking. Basically what I was saying is that technically these rings really aren't all that reusable, right? Maybe once, twice max, I bet. I've never done more than that. Fox does sell them. They could also be found at, you know, any retaining ring store, just like this one over here. You can find them online, right? So, and I'll try and put a link to that one. So that's it, folks. That was the hardest part of all this. Now we're going to assemble the rest together. Let me let the camera cool off a little bit so we could do as much of it in one shot as possible. For starters, we take this knob. There's a plate underneath it that it turns, right? And it covers the ports. Now, this thing technically is directional. There's a small knob and a big knob. So the small hole goes with the small hole and the big one goes with the big one. But if we do that, you will notice that even though I have them aligned, they're in the right holes, it's offset. That means that this plate is backwards. I need to flip it. So now if I flip it and I align the holes, actually, it fell over. Now if I flip it and I align the holes, it falls right in the middle. So we know that this side faces this side, okay? So put this side down. Now we're going to take this guy. Now this guy's got a wave washer. Now if you notice over here, he's oblong, just like the inside. We need to put him in the right way. There's only one way he could fit in, right? The easiest way to do this is actually grab a retaining ring plier underneath, right? Know where your fat section is, your thick section is, and try and align it. There's the thick section, put him in, and he should fit inside just like that. So now we know that the underneath goes on top. So make sure that the fat hole, the wide holes with the wide hole, the narrow holes with the narrow hole. Grab a pick and just slide them until they sit. Oh great, my pick's magnetic right now. Awesome. It's sitting next to a magnet. Beautiful. Okay, so he's there in one. And let's make sure he's in. Yep. Come on. Look at this. Pick was sitting next to a magnet before. All right. So there we go. So he is in, right? Now we put this guy. Now this guy has a bearing on the side. If you look, there's a groove that goes right down the whole side of this tube. We need to take the flat part, put it down, and make sure the bearing falls in the grooves. And if it does, it should slide down with ease. If it's giving you trouble, there we go. So now we are sitting properly. Now your shims fit in here. So we're going to start off with our 6mm and put it in. I believe this is an 8mm, or was it a 7mm? 7mm, 7mm, it's right, 7mm. Then we got our spacer. We got our other spacer. These are all the same size. Then we have another spacer. Technically, one of those shims that you can see is some kind of stain to it. I don't have other shims. I can't do anything about it right now. 9mm. 8mm. 8mm, 7mm, and our last 7mm. Sure it's clean, and that's it. Now we are ready to take our tube and screw it all back down. Okay, but we're not going to screw it all the way. Leave enough room where we could take we're back where we were before. We're going to take our bladder and get it over that seat in there. Okay, we want this part to sit in there, in that silver part, right? Just like, come on, there we go. Come on, stop giving me a hard time. Come on, get in there. There we go. Just like that. Now we could take the whole thing and screw it down. Okay, screw it down tight. And then we're going to put it on the vise and torque it. We are going to be tightening all joints at the exact same time. Okay, again, 26mm chamferless, 6.2 Newton meters. Put him on there. Make sure he's not spinning. At the bottom. See? Oop, 6.3. Good enough. To finish him up, we need to find anything that will hold this guy up. In other words, we don't want to tie down on this guy. We just need him to be sitting down on something, right? So in my case, I'm just going to use one of these smaller holes. You could use a flat jaw for this. Again, you're just doing nothing but sitting the metal piece at the bottom over here on both sides onto something so you could push it down and stretch it in order to create an opening to put both those parts in, right? The washer and the retaining clip. So in my case, I'm just going to do this, fit this guy all the way through. Again, we're going to put him in, close him, but I'm not clamping him down. Like I said, I let him completely loose. We don't want to clamp anything here. We just want to be able to push down in order to create space in here in order for the washer, for starters, to fall into, right? So again, make sure he's sitting in there, just like that. And then we're going to take a retaining clip. Now, retaining clip, we have our angled side or flat side. Flat side we sink in first, right? Retaining, angled side to remove. So basically, again, we're going to take this guy, push down on the tube, sit him in his seat, just like that, and now walk him around. A little hard for me to do this with the camera here, but we'll figure it out. So I'm going to have to do it like this. And basically sit him down within the seat on the inside, walk it all the way around, and there you go. Our upper assembly is completely done. Next comes the bleed. Now, to finish up our upper tube, we have one more seal, and that's this top seal over here, okay? So we're going to take the old one out. All right. Okay, let's just clean the seat. Make sure there's no dirt in there. We are good. Now, I'm going to find its replacement, which should be right there. Right, yep, definitely this one here. Let's put a slight coat of grease on them. Then we're going to take them and we're going to put them back on right there. So our upper now is done. Our rebound is done. Time to start bleeding. Now, to bleed, first thing we want to do, take our cap, right, with the screw on it and put it in and plug the hole. Okay, just like that. So now this is plugged. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take oil. Now you could use the bottle. I just put it in this to make my life easier. And we're going to fill it up pretty much nearly to the top. Leave about, I don't know, 1 inch, right? And then what we're going to do, till you see it, just like that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze the bladder and try and suck as much of that oil into the bladder, okay? If you notice, it's getting lower and lower with every pump of my hand. Get all the air out as well, as much air out as possible. See all the bubbles? Hopefully you can see that well. Okay. The more we get out here, the better off we are later. This is actually an easy damper to bleed, in my opinion. But this step here is key to being more successful. Do this until you can't see any bubbles. That's pretty good right there. I don't see anything coming out. Not to say there's no air still in there. I guarantee you there's air in there, but we will pull it out the other side. Next up, let's clamp this guy in here, and then we will install the rebound rod. To install the rebound knob, now this can be a little bit tricky because we have this loose glide ring, right? So we have to make sure that we put it in and slide it. At the same time, this needs to be at the bottom so we could tie it all down together. So first, let's fill this guy up to the top with oil. All right, right to the top. give them a knock. I'm going to squeeze, see if we get any air out of there. Nope, we're looking good. Put them to the top. Okay, make sure you got your oil pan underneath, right? So hold on to the glide ring and just slip this guy until the, oh, another thing is we already checked that we are in the fully open position. Make sure counterclockwise, right? All the way. So again, hold on to the glide ring, squeeze it together, and make sure it makes it inside prior to putting this top down. Once it makes it inside, put the whole thing down. Don't trap your fingers like I did. Screw it all down by hand first. All right, now we grab our 19mm wrench. Okay, our shaft, well, our shaft now is all the way out. It's okay, we'll get that air out. And then torque wrench, crow's foot, 19mm, 90-degree angle, 6.2 Newton meters. Find the flat spot and start turning. There we go, 6.25. Everything's all attached. Now we invert it and we start our bleed. Now for the bleed. So we know that we are at the full open position at the bottom, and we need to verify one more time that we are at the fully open position at the top. So take out the screw for now, right? Let's put this on the side. Then make sure this guy's clean, even though we got to give him a good cleaning later, but clean him pretty good now so we don't get any kind of dirt in there that might float inside. And we're going to put them on. That's fully closed. That's fully open. Test our low speed. That's closing. And that's fully open. So we are in the fully open position on both of these. Now let's take off the knob. Put it on the side. Okay. So what do I do with my screw? There we go. So now we're going to put the screw back in. Yeah. All right. And we are going to take off the whole mechanism. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our syringe, pull it out. Oh boy, man, he's in there tough. Okay, that was weird. Take the black cap and cover this hole, cover the little holes on the side, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to put oil in them. Don't fill them. Put about, I don't know, start with an inch. Start squeezing the bladder, and you're going to see air coming out. So first we're going to keep on squeezing the bladder until all that air comes out. As much air as possible. Squeeze, let oil go in. Well, let the air come out. Let go, let the oil come in. And then keep on repeating until you don't see any small bubbles, right? So again, let all the bubbles, give them time to go all the way to the top. Just keep on squeezing. Be patient here. Let the bubbles climb up. Sometimes they take their time. All right. Massage the bladder. Open it up. Squeeze again. You got to give time for bubbles to climb up, right? So squeeze again. Okay. I'm getting to a point where I really, oop, there's a few large bubbles. See what I mean? They're in there. Squeeze from the bottom up. Just like that. See, look at all those bubbles. There we go. Now I'm seeing more bubbles. There we go. Hold it, squeeze, let the bubbles climb up. Again, patience. Okay. Let it fill up again. Squeeze it again. Squeeze it tight. There we go. More bubbles coming up. More bubbles coming up. Come on. Get up. Go. Let this guy keep on going. Okay. All right. We're getting to a point where I barely see a bubble coming up. So we squeezed enough to a point where we don't see any bubbles coming up, right? So now we're going to go down to the rebound shaft and we are going to lift it up and we're going to try and push out bubbles. All right. So as you lift it up, you're going to see bubbles coming out. There you go. Squeeze. Squeeze. Be patient. Hold it, squeeze and hold it. There's little bubbles. Look for all those little bubbles. I don't know how good you could see them in this milky type of, see what I mean? There's a whole bunch of little bubbles there right now. Come on. The only thing is, again, they take their time coming up. So be patient. Okay, they just popped up. Now we're going to suck this guy back down. I'm pulling down the rebound shaft, filling him up with oil. Again, squeeze. We don't see anything. Let's go back up again. There we go. There's a few more big bubbles. Slowly do it up and down. He's all the way above. Squeeze and try and get the small ones out. See, there's little bubbles. This is the worst part, is trying to see those little bubbles because it's actually pretty tricky in this fluid. So pull them back down. All the way down. Squeeze. Give it a bit, let the bubbles come to the top. Bring it back up again. Yep, see, we got bubbles coming. Whoop, see, keep squeezing, force them up, force them all up. Take your time over here, guys. Just keep on doing this over and over until we see no bubbles. All right. I don't know how long the camera's going to last. There was a big bubble right there. Like I said, they're in there, guys. Air's trapped. You saw all those little ports. All those little ports are holding air. We got to get all those bubbles out of all those little ports, basically. And we are back after the camera overheated. So I was at it for about another 4 minutes. And there's absolutely nothing coming out. I mean, I've pushed this thing up and down, I don't know how many times. Squeezed it. There is absolutely nothing. From what I could tell, it sounds great. I don't hear any air flowing back and forth. So we are good. So next step is extend the shaft all the way. Okay, so bring it up and then pull it down all the way. Make sure it's all the way at the bottom. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to remove our needle, right, and fill up this whole area in here with oil. Let all the oil come out there and let it sit just like that. There's a reason for that. Okay, now we're going to take off the rubber connector. There we go. So now we have our little dial mechanism, right? And if you remember correctly, there was a spring and a detent ball that goes inside it. On the magnet, we had our our spring, detent ball, and our retaining ring, right? So first what we're going to do, we're going to take a little bit of grease, put a little bit of grease on the inside over there. We're going to take our spring, be careful with it, just the spring, and we're going to put inside the hole. Okay, then we're going to take a little bit of that grease, we're going to put on top of the spring. Right, and we're going to take our detent ball. Oh, great. That was dumb. Put the spring in. There we go. Then we take a little bit of grease, put it on top of the spring in order to hold the ball in place. Just like that. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sink this whole thing into the assembly and squeeze the ball in. Okay. And the reason we left that extra oil in there is so we don't take air with us going down. Okay. So squeeze the ball in until it fully seats. Just like that. Boom. All the way down. All right. He is now in. Now let's empty out the oil and we'll put in the retaining ring. To empty out the oil, the quickest way is just take them out of here and dump them. Make sure you don't make a mess. And what you can do, make sure you wipe any oil, fill off the sides. All right, now we get in here and clean any oil that's in here. All right, then we're going to put this guy back in here. All right, now we want to put the retaining ring back in. A little bit tricky, but not impossible. Make sure we're all the way down. Grab the retaining ring. Okay, we're going to put them in. Actually, probably be easier without the screw in there. Let's take out the screw, put them on the side. Okay, and now what we want to do is try and sink them in one side first. This guy's going to be a little bit tricky, and having gloves doesn't help, but we will do it, folks. Okay, now sink one side in, and then when he's in his seat, try and sink the other side. You know what I'm going to try? My skewer gun? I thought my skewer would fit this time. You know what? This actually might work pretty good. Nope, it's not strong enough. Okay. Again, sink one side. There we go. So he's sunk into the seat. Now, force down the other side. Like I said, this is tricky. Be careful with them. Watch he doesn't spring out on you. There we go. All right, that's good. See if I can do it with toothpicks. Let's do this side better. I'm right. Come on. There we go. He's in all the way around. Now let's tuck him down into a seat. And that is it. Our retaining ring is in. Is he? Yes, he is. Our retaining ring is in. All right. Perfect. Now we are going to test our work. So first we will start with the compression. So we know that we were fully open, right? If it's fully open, we should be able to squeeze them easily. Silent. So much better than before. So now we're going to close them counterclockwise, 2 clicks. And whew, guys, when I tell you this thing's not moving, it is not moving. Let's do pedal. Pedal's moving, but it's definitely not as free. Oh yeah, that needs way more pressure than the fully open. Okay, now we're going to try our damper. Before we put everything together, we want to make sure everything works now with this damper. All right, let's just screw a knob in there. So we are in the fully open, right? So comes down real easy. Now let's lock them out. Fully clockwise. And when we bring them down, oh, look how much harder that is, man. That's so much harder to pull out. Sweet, 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 sweet. So that's a really good sign. Leave them in the all the way open position for now. Take the knob out. And then if we want, we could test our high-speed compression. Again, let's put him back in the open position. Our low-speed compression, right? So again, right now we are fully open. And actually, there we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We should feel more resistance. Let's bring them all the way to the end. And it's like 20 clicks on this guy. It's quite a bit actually, which is nice, having those options. Look at that. So it's definitely stiffer. I got to put more force on it to basically bring it up. So then let's bring it all the way back. And we are good. Like I said, it's got a lot of clicks, this guy. There he goes. Oh yeah, look how much easier that is. So that's awesome, guys. Our damper is working perfectly. And I mean perfectly. So much better than before. All right, next, let's put it back into the upper tube. To put them into the upper tube, simple enough. We're going to take them, we're going to slide them in, screw them down by hand. Try and get the first threads. There we go. If you can't do it anymore, grab a tool. See how much we can do with our 26 millimeter flat socket. That's the most I'm going to be able to do there. Oops. Come on. Oh, he's already down. Okay, now we torque him 24 Newton meters. Should already be there from the last one. Now this guy, like I said, be careful with him because they don't give you much meat to grab. 24.7, perfect. That's, I think, where he's exactly supposed to be at. Cool. So now we could put our dials back in. So this guy goes, we said, here, fully open, right? Yep, fully open. And this guy, we will make him in a fully open position like that. Grab my 2.5 millimeter, screw him down, finger tight. And that's it. Make sure you can move them. Yes, we can. There you go, folks. You just finished servicing a FIT4 damper. Next, let's close it up together, or put it all together and close it up for good. Part 2 of the 50-hour service. So, first we're going to start off with our wipers. I had opened up the rest of the wiper kit, laid out all the parts and pieces that we're going to need, right, from the sag ring to the crush washers, and we have our wipers. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up our little container here. We're going to take our foam rings. They're all nice and gooey, 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 and we're going to take them and we're going to put them inside and make sure they are sitting flat. Make sure they are flat. All right, that's one. And here we have the other one. Yay. Cool. So that's one. Stuff's so gooey, I swear. Now, we're going to take our wipers. Take off the rings. Then we're going to take a little bit of grease and we're going to put it on the outside. Like I said, just a film, thin film. All right, just a thin coat on one and a thin coat on the other one. All right. Then we're going to take our tool, 34 millimeters, since it's a 34 millimeter fork. We're going to put it in. Now, usually, Fox, you can't do them by hand. You got to knock them in. So we're going to grab our mallet. There we go. That's one. Sitting nice and flat. We're going to take our second one. And we're going to put him in. And he's sitting perfectly flat. Let's put grease in our wipers. Cannot forget that. Now what I do, this is concave in here. I fill up the concave part. Only because, well, the last time this thing got serviced was over 300 hours ago. And I mean any service. And I don't know when the next time it'll be serviced will be. So we're going to go a little bit crazy on here. Not too crazy. Hopefully I'll take care of his stuff. Okay, like I said, just fill it up real good. Can't go wrong here. Really. Cool. Now, since we have the opportunity, let's clean up any grease that fell behind over here. Do it now, because it's a lot easier doing it now than doing it later. All right, cool. Let's put this guy here. Now we're going to grab our old sag ring. We're going to take it out. Throw them on the side. I'm going to grab our new sag ring. Don't put grease on them. And we're going to put them in. Then we're going to take our metal rings. One spring and 2 springs. Serial number facing you. Crown facing away from you. We're going to take them. I'm going to put them in. Get one side first. And then, oops. And then fold in the other side. There we go. Nice and smooth. He hit bottom. There he is right there at bottom. Let's pull him away. Might as well do it now because we are going to need space to put oil in there. What we can do since we're here, put our rings back on. Be careful. Make sure you use a blunt pick or a plastic pick, even better. This one's real blunt, so I'm not too worried about it. There we go. Our rings are done. Next, we fill them up with oil. Before we fill them up with oil, let's prep our crush washers. So this is the rebound side. Let's clean. Make sure we have a nice flat surface. Okay. Shows no debris in between because that would cause a leak. And this is our new crush washer. Just going to put it on there just like that. Set it on the side. The old crush washer, we got it out when we separated the fork. If yours is still in there, you need to go in there and remove it. Again, remove any dirt because we do not want dirt in between the crush washer and either the nut or the fork body, the lower boot body, because that could create a space, and that's not good. Take the new crush washer, put it in, set that one on the side. Now we fill them up with oil. So air side, damper side. Damper side, 15 cc's. Air side, dependent on your fork as far as travel length. Here's a chart. This is a 130, so I'm going to need 10 cc's on the damper side. So I'm going to grab the syringe. Oh boy, this guy's like locked in there. Holy cow. Jeez, man. Okay. Now this oil sucks. Where's the 10 on this? It's over there, right? So actually I'm going to start with 15 first. So let's do 15 first, which is going to be the damper side. So let's suck that up to 15. That should be... Ooh, I'm way higher than 15. I was looking at the wrong line. Okay. That's good. So take them. Again, we make sure you have space, right? Make sure the shaft is not up against the boot. Take them and pour them in. Bink, just like that. Go down to the back. And we're going to take 10. Where's 10 on this thing? It's hard to read. Oh, look at that. 10 even. What do you know? Put them in, inject. All right. Now, clean the surfaces. Again, we want a nice, clean, solid connection between the crush washers and the boot. All right, we don't want this heavy grease. This stuff, like I said, it's real thick and slippery. Cool. Now we crush them. I mean, squeeze them together. Make sure your shafts are sticking out. This guy is not sticking out, so we got to push him in. Why is he not sticking out? Because this guy is not sinking in. There we go. Okay, that's it right there. Perfect. All right, just like that. Now we grabbed our nuts. Damper side 15 millimeter, air side 10 millimeter. Grab our socket. Let's put the damper side first, always by hand. All right. And we will put the air side Okay, he's giving me some difficulty for some odd reason. Why is he giving me troubles? There we go. Right? Now let's take him. Since we're here, don't over tighten them yet. We need to torque them. These are very, very soft metals here. They do not need much torque. Oh. Wow, I thought I got him more. There we go. And now Fox says 5.7 Newton meters. I don't know, man. I don't feel comfortable with 5.7. I'm going to take it to 6. You could do it to 5.7. All right. So take them, put them in, and oop, 6.34. That's an overshoot, but not the end of the world. So, and there we go. And 6 on the money. Take our rebound knob, make sure he's all clean. We have a dimple. We want to put the screw on the dimple, just like that. All right. And we want to screw him in. And this guy's going to be finger tight. Do not overdo it. You can strip this guy real easy. All right. So finger tight. Let's test him. Perfect. Here clicks the whole 9 yards. Now, spray him down. Wipe him down. Make sure to get any grease off, especially around here. And ta-da! And there you have it, folks. You just finished fully servicing a Fox Factory Series Float 34 FIT4 fork. Not all that bad, right? Easy job, in my opinion. The 50 hour and the air spring, just like all 50 hour and air springs, super easy. Stay on top of them. The damper on this one could be super easy if all you do is the rebound. The top half, the bladder, basically, you don't need to do it, right? The axle that controls, that connects to the knobs, you're going to have no choice but to pull that out and change the seals because you need to get in there to bleed, right? But the other seal on the inside, I'd stay away from it. There is no need for you to do that. You take the risk of breaking that C-clip. Fox does sell it, but it's going to be hard to find. The other C-clip on top here, Fox does not sell it, although I found a place where you could buy them online. My advice, stay on top of your 50 hours, man. Don't let 300 plus hours go on your fork or shock or dropper or anything without it being looked at or touched. It's a miracle there wasn't even more damage, and there was a little bit of damage here, right? So stay on top of that. So all that's left is put your dials back to where they were at the beginning, fill it up with air, put on your air cap, and when you go out on the trails, the first few rides, excess grease will come out of the wipers. Just make sure to wipe it off so too much dirt doesn't build up and make it difficult for the wipers. It's only going to take about 4 rides, 6 rides, max 10 rides, okay? And that's pretty much it. So, if you like the video, please click the like button. Click the subscribe button to see more videos. Click the bell button, bing, 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 in order to get notified when new videos come out. And there will be many more videos coming. And until then, I hope all is well with all of you. And we will be talking to you soon. All right, take care. Have a good one. Bye.